it's an incredible story. I mean, it just blew my mind the first time I ever read it. I've read so many scripts, and I've read scripts I've cried, and I've said, "Oh, I want to make this movie." I love this story. I love this journey of this man. I always love journeys about an underdog.
Mhm.
But when I read The Hill, at the time it was called, it had a different title. It was called 11 for 11. And I read The Hill, and I just cried my eyes out, and I never ever could look back. I have to make this movie.
Hey everyone, it's David Stark from Watcher Pass, and I'm talking to Jeff Celentano and Rickey Hill of The Hill, which is coming to theaters on August 25th, 2023. I'm going to talk to them right now, and while you're watching, if you can like and subscribe to this channel, that would be fantastic. I'll spend a lot. Thank you.
Here comes the legend, always
Here we go.
saving the best for last.
All right, it's the bottom of the ninth, and in comes designated hitter Rickey Hill to save this interview.
Bottom of the ninth, and the hammer, they're bringing him in. There he is.
Hey, Rickey.
Hey, brother.
We're done, but nice seeing you, buddy.
Yeah, it was great talking to you.
Yeah, well, I never said that I was involved in this technical nonsense this world. Okay, I said I could swing.
Rickey,
I said I could swing a
alone.
bat. I can swing a bat. I can't swing a computer.
Yeah, well, you have a gift in some areas, and you know that definitely shines through in the movie. So
I don't have time to practice this nonsense.
I bet you could probably hit a rock with a bat though, and hit a computer really well, like probably 10 out of 10 times. Awesome. So thanks so much for joining me today. I've got Jeff Celentano, the director, and Rickey Hill, the subject, the kind of like main event, the person that this film is based on. They are both coming here to talk about The Hill, which is coming to theaters on August 25th, 2023. It is an inspirational sports movie that just has a ton of adversity, a ton of heart, and just an amazing life story of this person, Rickey Hill. So I'm very excited to talk to you. I really want to get some more information about this movie. So thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Of course. So I guess the first question is for Rickey. Like, you know, what got you to tell this story? What made you want to kind of like tell your life's work? You know, did someone approach you about it? Did you just kind of like want to put everything down because it's kind of so insane, like so crazy? When I saw this movie, I was like, this is just Hollywood throwing thing after thing. There's no way this is a true story. And then you see the end, you're like, okay, this actually was a true story, and this person did overcome all of this. So what was the inspiration for you to kind of put this story down?
It wasn't my inspiration whatsoever. My brother did it. My brother wrote the story.
Oh,
He wrote the story, turned around, handed it to a couple of people at our church, just for people to read, for our own enjoyment, for our families, for future down the road, for your kids, your grandkids, all of those. One guy took it out to Hollywood in 1977, 78. And next thing you know, they wanted to buy my story. And I didn't understand that at the time because I was still playing ball. And then he came back. My mother and father became ill. I didn't want to do the film at all because they were both ill at the same time.
mm-hmm.
And I didn't want to have anything to do with the film, especially in Hollywood at that time. I didn't just want to go out to Hollywood when my parents are dying. And so I didn't want to leave the situation that I was in. And then finally, multiple years later, since the 70s, I gave the movie up roughly 17, 18 years ago, and let it go and set it free. And that's been the battle we've had ever since.
Oh, wow. So you kind of like let the rights go, and and then after the fact, when I guess Jeff read it and wanted to make it, then you had to kind of claw those back. Is that kind of what happened?
Yeah, well, I had to go. We had started it. We had a couple of hiccups involved in it with other producers and things like that. So we had to get rid of that situation. And then my executive producer told me, Rick, let's don't stop this thing. God's called us to do this. Let's go do it. Let's finish the course. And I went out to Hollywood and sat down there, and I interviewed for directors. A lot of them really, really close to right at 50. And out of the 50, that guy right there made the cut.
That's awesome. That's just those are kind of odds that Rickey was facing in some of these tryouts. So
that's right.
So Jeff, how did you find?
My story is the same as his in that way.
basically. And Rickey was throwing fastballs at you the entire time.
Yeah, yeah.
I was throwing at his head.
It wasn't Rickey. Rickey was on my team. It was other people.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
They
other people
fastballs
were
at me.
fighting. Other people were fighting, trying to tell me that he wasn't good, tell me he wasn't good enough, tell you needed someone bigger. But I found out something. You know what? I've seen some little ball players be the best ball players ever.
I kind of love how that message is kind of your life, right? Your entire life you were told that you weren't big enough, you didn't have the physical abilities to do this, and you just kind of kept persevering and overcoming. So I love that like the process to get your story made had a similar kind of amount of adversity that Jeff had to overcome.
Well, you know what? That's exactly, you know what? I'm glad you brought that up because you're the first one to brought it up, and I've never even told Jeff this. I always look for the sleeper. I look for the person that they say that can't do it. That's who I look for. In a baseball player, when I scout today and I scout a ball player, I look for the guy that they say that can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I try to make him reach his highest goals where he can do it. And so saying that, Jeff was kind of the same way. Jeff was, he's I heard negatives and things back and forth, but he'd already proved different that he could do it to me. And so that's why I chose him.
I mean, the negatives he's talking about were people trying to prove that I wasn't the guy. And I had, and if you look me up online, and I can say this on any interview, and try to find any bad things that I've done or been involved with or any skeletons in the closet, there's nothing, because I know how clean my life has been in every way. Nobody was doing anything like that. They were more or less trying to show movies I had done and saying, look at this camera shot or this and that. It was just ridiculous. And then I would show it to other people that were really well-known filmmakers, and they would go, why are they saying that wasn't good? That was great. And the reason why is because they had investors who wanted to buy the movie from Rickey, and they had their own director they wanted on.
Oh wow.
They were trying to steal the movie from me constantly. But there was a very big producer that got onto us early on named Carl Mazzacone. And then in addition to that, there was another producer named Steve Perry who came on. And both of those producers, Steve was Robert Redford's producer for A River Runs Through It and Clint Eastwood. And Carl had done a lot of big movies. And so they all said, this is Jeff's shot. He's got the big heart that you need to tell this story. He's talented as a director. He's always made mediocre scripts into really watchable movies. Now he has a great script, and he's going to make a great movie, and no one's going to take it away from him. He's not going to give up. So that's kind of what Rickey was meant by that.
Then I got a call from one big, large producer. He said, let me tell you, this guy is one good script away from making it to the very top. Because the script is everything. Mm-hmm. It really is. I mean, from what I can tell about the business, the script is everything. And they said he's one good script away. And when they said that to me, I'd already made up my mind, especially all the things that he did for me, showing me how bad he wanted it. He worked 10 times over than any other director putting it all together. He did.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I agree with you. Like, you want someone that is hungry, that you know is going to like work as hard as they can, because you can't teach hard work. Like, someone can have talent, but you also need to put in the hours, put in the effort, put in the kind of like heart to kind of get it through the finish line. So,
it's like, I'll give you an example. You can take a AAA baseball team and you can take a Major League Baseball team. I'll promise you, you give me the AAA team and you let me put that team together, we'll go out there and we'll stomp that Major League ball team every time.
Yeah. I would love to see that. That would be
I think everybody would love to see that.
It ain't hard to do. It's not hard to do.
Rick, why haven't they ever done it? That's a great test. I'd love that.
I can guarantee you right now, you give me two minor league baseball teams, and we will stomp that Major League Baseball team. I've done it too many times already, even with one. Our single A team was whipping our Major League Baseball team.
Yeah, so what he's saying is he likes the underdog, and
that's right. I like the dog.
And because of what he went through, he appreciates it. So every kid that is sitting here watching this, or their parents know that, if they have a passion for something, there are no rules. Mm-hmm. If you wanted something, we read about it every day. I mean, I always go back to this crazy analogy of this. Gandhi. I mean, look what Gandhi achieved doing what he did and believing what he did. That story always made me amazed at a man's will to do something, you know?
Yeah.
By the way, this hat says Hill on it. The Hill.
I see.
I just want you to know that right now. Okay.
That's
All right.
perfect. Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, you're
But never
wearing your
know.
own branded gear. I love it. If I had a movie, I would definitely wear the gear from that movie also.
Okay.
And Jeff, where are you located?
Right now in New York City doing press, and we had a big screening last night
Oh, nice.
for the Catholic Diocese Church, which is the leading church for all the Catholics around the country and the world, around the country, I mean. And then we're doing another screening tonight at a venue in Bronxville, New York, for a big theater where a guy has a huge following that's supporting our movie.
Oh, nice. Very cool. That sounds good. Interesting that it was the Catholic diocese, because this was more of a, I don't know, like a Baptist feeling.
Yeah, you know, it's
film.
it's none of those things. It's funny. I set out to make a movie for everybody. I didn't want to make a movie for Christian people, for
Mhm.
Catholic people, for sports people. I made a movie for families. I wanted to make a movie for people who had kids that maybe had disabilities or had dreams that they couldn't ever fulfill. I made it for people who like had struggles in their families and wanted to come together. That was my goal. But I did want to make sure I adhere. I was very conscious of the Christian element, and I was very conscious of the sports element. I wanted to be accurate in every way. But it's really, I mean, some people call this a total faith movie, and I go, it's not.
Oh no, no,
At all.
definitely
Yeah,
not.
you felt that too, right?
Yeah.
But there's no way to get around the fact that Ricky's father was a preacher
Yeah.
and lived in churches, and so that's the backdrop of the movie. That's the fabric of the film. But the film is really about a little boy who wanted to find the love of his father, and that's all he ever cared about. But he had this unbelievable ability because he was so broke, he would go out on these railroad tracks and hit 2,000 rocks a day.
Oh my
And he got so good he could aim the rock and he could hit it with everything he had because he was a really tough kid. And it transitioned into baseball. But his father was a preacher, and Ricky tells the story. He'll tell it to you. He started the whole mess of his dad wanting him to be a preacher because he started hitting the pulpit in front of his house at 8 years old and making the family listen to his preaching because he watched his dad all the time. So that's how he got so good at that. But I didn't want it to be a sports movie either, because the best sports movies are the ones that are not about the sport. It's about the people. And so there's only two little games in the film. You know, there's the Sandlot game, the high school game, and then there's the finale. And there's hardly any baseball in the movie, which is funny because I'm not really a baseball person or a big sports guy. I grew up playing sports. I was an athlete and a jock, but I don't follow sports today very much. But I know how to play all the games, and I know that some of the teams and things like that. But people were really worried about me at first because I'm not a sports guy. I was like, this is not a sports movie per se. It's a movie for everybody. But it touches people in the sports business. It touches people in the families more than anything. And it also touches the faith audience in a huge way, because I spent a lot of time crafting this movie for them too.
Yeah, I describe it as an inspirational sports movie, and then the faith part I describe it as like faith light, because it has definitely a faith message in there because of that's how Ricky grew up. But I loved that it wasn't your like faith-based movie where you have some corny lines and like you have these obvious moments that are supposed to pull at your heartstrings. It showed like the good of religion and the bad of religion. It showed how faith can be both a positive and a negative in people's lives, depending on how
Thank
they
you.
how they use it.
Yeah, I call it faith friendly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's an incredible story. I mean, it just blew my mind the first time I ever read it. I've read so many scripts, and I have read scripts I've cried, and I've said, oh, I want to make this movie. I love this story. I love this journey of this man. I always love journeys about an underdog. But when I read The Hill, at the time it was called, it had a different title. It was called 11 for 11. And I read The Hill, and I just cried my eyes out, and I never ever could look back. I have to make this movie no matter what. I have to get this job. I have to have them like me. I had to prove myself. I wouldn't just go in there and talk. I went there and showed them what I was going to do.
Yeah.
I created a whole, I cut other movies together like Field of Dreams and The Natural, and I put them into a reel and said, "This is the movie you're going to see." And they were really impressed because no other director had done that.
That's awesome. I mean, I love the amount of effort that you put into it. Like every time I've been applying for a job, they're like, "Oh, you should, make an example of what you want to show." I'm like, "Oh, I don't have time for that. Like, I'm just going to go in and talk." But it seems like you kind of took that message to heart and really kind of blew them away.
Even more, I even had music that I picked out for the film from a TV series called The Pacific that made me cry when I heard it. It was so powerful, the orchestra. And I've always wanted to make a big, sweeping, emotional film like this. And I was not about to make the music cheesy or not with a real orchestra. We had an 80-piece orchestra.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and I would take the music from the Pacific and I would hold it on my phone on set during a scene with Colin Ford playing the older Ricky, and people would cry on the set, and I would look at them and go, "Okay, this is working."
Okay,
and when I let Ricky hear it, when they hired me, right before they hired me, he said, "That's money. That is money."
That's
Meaning
awesome.
that's amazing.
Well, they do say that a sports game is kind of like a mini war, so it's good to take music from a war series. So Ricky, I know this is based on your life story, and when you translate to a movie, some things probably inevitably change just because of the timing and the way that the film works. Is there something that was kind of like added or left out that you can recall? I'm just curious how some of the times the story will change for the screen. I love the movie, by the way. I thought it was a fantastic movie, but I was curious, like, if there was anything from your life that was.
Thank you. I put too much on it for Jeff to care. I put too much on him because Jeff will tell you we can make a series about this thing for the next 10 years.
Yeah. No, that would
how do you fit something in there in 2 years? And I mean in 2 hours.
Yeah. I mean, the general story is 100% true and accurate. I have all the proof of it. I've said this 100 times. I didn't want to make a true story. Look, I'm a film kid. I go to movies and I judge them all the time. I didn't want to make a schmaltzy film. I didn't want to make a sentimental film. I wanted to make a true story and appeal to everybody. So, the movie Seabiscuit was a huge template for me. It was an inspiration to me because that movie was so well crafted and the script was so great. And what that horse did and what his will to win was just like Ricky. So that was my guiding light, through this movie. And like you said, some of these movies aren't accurate. You have to leave stuff out. Well, I couldn't tell every little thing, but the general story from A to Z is exactly what you see on the screen. The little things that happen in between his story are things we couldn't put in. There's just too much. Ricky did so many crazy things in his life to get there that it was too hard to tell. Little tiny stories,
Yeah. I was even the jockey on Seabiscuit.
everything. Yeah, and that is a good point. Like, I would love to see this as a series because usually, like, an inspirational sports movie will have one big event that's building for it. But this felt like there were so many things along the way that you had to overcome. That you're right. Like, this could have been a 10-episode series, a couple season series as you're kind of going through everything that you went through. Ricky, I'm just kind of curious. So this is based on your life, obviously. Did you donate any of your own memorabilia or artifacts to the film? Like, I don't know, like, was like one of the Bibles that you used growing up? Was there anything from your past that kind of made it into the film to kind of help with the accuracy, or was that all the different sets and the different set designers?
Well, no, what I donated to the film was my word, my faith, my belief. I never ever wavered that direction. I never even thought about stopping. One time we thought about stopping because we didn't think we could find the right director, but we did. And but saying that, I've got money in the film myself just to help out myself as well. Because it takes a lot to keep rocking and rolling when you're out there trying to find the right people. And by me finding the right people, my right people found the right people. That is basically, I found him, he found them.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't donate anything to the movie. We just didn't need it or use it, but he did get some bats from a company called, it was Harmony Bats, Rick?
Yes.
Harmony Bats gave us some bats, and that was one of the bats Ricky used. Ricky had a bat that was, what was your bat like, Rick? It was a big one, right?
Yeah, I used a 36, 38 ounce bat.
That's like one of the biggest bats you'll ever hit. It's just a big monster. And we had to recreate that. And when Colin picked up the bat, he was like, "Holy smokes, Ricky swung this bat." And I said, with a fervor that you're going to have to learn.
Oh my gosh. Physically demanding for him. Well, I know you have a very busy day, so I'm going to have to wrap here, but you should definitely check out this story, check out Rickey Hill's story, check out Jeff's movie that maybe is the one that he needs to break into the top. It is a fantastic movie. It is The Hill. It's coming to theaters on August 25th, 2023. It has inspiration, it has sports, it has drama, it has adversity, it has a little bit of faith, but you know what? You can, if you are a faithful person, you'll love this movie. If you're not really a religious person, you can still love this movie. It shows the ups and downs. And thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, and they can go to thehillmove.com, thehillmov.com to buy tickets now. And they need to buy tickets for this upcoming weekend because I hear it's getting pretty crazy and selling out. So they need to fill those theaters to get our movie to last for the, sometimes you have these great movies, they don't last, and it's nothing to do with the film. It's because people go, well, I'll go in a couple of weeks after the rush is out, but they don't last a couple of weeks because it's all about the ticket sales in the first weekend.
Yeah.
So thehillmove.com. All right. Thank you.
All right. Awesome. Thanks,
David.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Bye.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
That was director Jeff Celentano and Rickey Hill, the subject of The Hill, which is coming to theaters on August 25th, 2023. It is a wonderful, inspirational sports drama that has a ton of adversity, a ton of heart, and a lot of good sports action. If you like this interview, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. Thank you.